Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds. Hang out with this nerd.
Nerdarchist Ted.
And today we're going to discuss playing the evil character in a good party. We're going to start this video by thanking our sponsor, Easy Roller Dice. Whether it's your first set of dice or your 1 millionth set of dice, Easy Roller Dice for all your dice rolling needs. Down in the description you can find a one-time coupon code for a whopping 20% off, as well as a link to easyrollerdice.com/nerdarchy. Go get your Easy Roller Dice.
All right, so today we're talking about how to play evil good.
Exactly, right. So someone, had posed the question of how do you play an evil character, without disrupting the game and having all the other players hate you. So there's a couple things when playing an evil character that are instantly the problems, right? I want to say there's like 3 problems with playing an evil character. One is most people don't actually play an evil character. They don't actually play a character. They play a caricature. So that in itself becomes a problem. When it's just like evil for evil's sake.
Yeah, so like you're chaotic evil. I'm going to do this just because I feel like doing it. It doesn't add anything to the game, to the world doing that.
Yeah, well, that actually is more of the second thing. Well, if my character's evil, then I can do whatever I want, right? It's like not having an alignment, except for you do have an alignment. A lot of times people just, they play any evil almost like chaotic evil. So that becomes problematic as well. And then, the other thing is the fact that, the evil characters that I've always seen, like, they don't have attachments that real people would have. And, really to play well in a game like this, a cooperative game, you need connections with your other players, with things in the world. And thinking that just because your character's evil, he wouldn't have them doesn't make sense. Just because he's evil, thinking, they're not going to have emotions and feelings towards other people that could actually be positive doesn't make sense either.
Now, you could make a character who has no surviving family, and he's chaotic evil, and it's all about making the world burn. But that doesn't bring anything to the table that's of interest to this particular discussion. If you want your players, your fellow players to hate you, then by all means you can go down this road and
play the sociopath.
Right. Now, if you are interested in playing a intelligent evil, if you want to play evil right, you have to find a way to do things subtly without disrupting the table, without stealing the limelight. Oh, it's me, I'm going to be evil, and I want everybody to know what's going on. You have to avoid those, and you want to do it without getting caught. So the best evil to really do is to go lawful evil.
I feel like lawful evil and even neutral evil can kind of work, but even better than thinking about the alignment is to think about how does your character fit into the story and the world? Like, sure, he may be morally ambiguous and not a very upstanding citizen, but at the same time, did you create a character that's going to fit in the game that's going to be run? That is actually the most important thing. Do you have ties and connections to the party? In Dragonlance, Kidiara was very much evil. Dragon High Lord, right? Evil. Eventually kills one of them. At least one of them, to my recollection.
Didn't she love Tanis?
Yes. and actually had a child with the one she killed. Spoilers, by the way. Yeah. So, but at the same time, like she was all their companions. She was related to some of them. She was lovers to some of them. She was very tied to them and connected to them. And she was on the other side, right?
But if you want to look at the actual party in that, Raistlin was an evil wizard, and he's attached to his brother Caramon, who Caramon had blinders to whatever Raistlin did, but was a good-to-heart knight.
And also, too, if you look at that character's progression, he didn't start off wholly evil. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a road that he kind of went down, and it progressed as the story progressed. And that's another way of doing it. Having that kind of build as you go throughout the campaign and the world, and you're still building ties to the other characters and things. Raistlin's a good example in the sense that he always had a fondness for the downtrodden, the weaker, be they Kender or Gully Dwarf, right? And he kind of connected to them and felt protective over them. So he, even though he was kind of a dick, and he was evil and was going to be supremely evil in the end, he still had feelings. He still, there were still things that he cared about.
Those are great points, and you really want to make sure that you have attachments and you have reasons for doing things. I've played a number of evil characters. Many I've fallen into some of the tropes, but I prefer to make good characters. I want to make heroes because those are stories that are easier to tell, and they're going to be easier characters for the DMs to interact with. I had one character that I played, in my college days, where he did that progression of started off, kind of good or neutral and worked his way down through to neutral evil. And it was a progression based off of events that happened in the game, but it was a communication thing between myself and the DM. And there was party conflict, but I had done conversations at the party, at the table and away from the table to try and figure out where everyone's placement on these sides are going to be when the eventual conflict would happen. And you have to wheel and deal behind the screen or behind closed doors so that people don't see the evil taking place. And those moments get to be so much more fun. And yeah, the campaign ended with, my army descending upon the world that I had, manipulated, or I was manipulated into, however you want to look at it. And, all this chaos is going on, and it was a lot of fun. But I wouldn't want to do that all the time.
So, here's some tips, right? One is, all right, think about it kind of like this. Say you want to play an evil character, he's immoral, whatever, or she, and think about the darkest shit you've ever wanted to do, but you don't do because that's wrong. And think about, well, what if I was to kind of unblock that and do it anyway? Would you want your friends or family to see you do it? Probably not, right? You'd want to try and get away with it. So you would try and do it on the down low, for several reasons. Mainly because you don't want to deal with the consequences of getting caught doing or being seen doing it, and the negative connotations that would come with it as well. Most people really are good because they don't want to deal with all the other connotations and consequences of just doing what they want all the time, right? So an evil character would do the same thing. It's the only difference is between the good character and evil character. The evil character is actually going to do that stuff, but they're going to do it in a way where people don't see them do it, or where they can get away with it. They're definitely not going to want their good party, the paladin in the party who's lawful good, to see them, robbing the old lady or whatever. They want that stuff to take place elsewhere where they have, and hopefully with plausible deniability, and so that they can get away with it. Because the other problem too is if you keep doing this stuff, someone's going to eventually stop you. So it's just counterproductive to think you're going to play this sociopath that is just going to murder people in the streets and take their stuff. Eventually, things will get out of control beyond the scope that you can handle, and you're going to have to deal with that. So if you want to play an evil character, the idea is to have goals that maybe you're just willing to cross lines to achieve that other people aren't. Or, you're selfish and you're greedy and you want things and you don't really care how you get them. But that doesn't mean you don't want to not avoid the consequences of people knowing how you're doing things and getting stuff. So that's the kind of stuff you're juggling. And when you do it right, then you kind of get what you want, and you still are planning to heal.
So if you're looking at, okay, I want to play the person who's greedy. A lot of times that's going to fall into the more roguely sorts, but with 5th edition, you honestly can take pickpockets and that kind of stuff as a skill from other places. It's pretty easy, racially or background, so you can do that stealth stuff without being a rogue. Well, you just have to do it in your downtime. You have to do it when you're not surrounded by the party in mid-daylight, oh, well, that guy's got a thing, I'm going to go over and take it just because. If you watch Critical Role, the current campaign, you've got the Goblin Knot, where he's told the party, well, I'm kind of a kleptomaniac. He didn't use that word because I don't think he's necessarily bright enough for it, but, he has a problem stealing stuff. Well, he waits for those moments when it's going to be pretty easy for him to get away with it, even though that's his expertise. When he's in the shop and the only one shopkeeper is there and he's distracted by his companion. Okay, great.
Who is also shifty.
It was also shifty. But, that's part of their thing. Well, when he's literally in a room by himself, he's like, "Oh, okay, what can I take? I'm going to undo the doorknob and I'm going to take that too." Okay, sure. If you wait for the opportune moments, you can make that kind of thing happen. You can play the unscrupulous character who is friends with the party, but he's willing to push those boundaries. And yeah, every once in a while, the party might have to pull you back from those things you're willing to do. But if they don't, you have no problem going forward. Those kind of things can be fun, and it creates moments of tension and stories that you'll tell time and time again later on, as opposed to Bob the fighter went and just slaughtered the townsfolk because he could. Oh well, what do we do this time?
The secret to doing it is not throwing it in other people's faces that you're evil. Is quietly being evil. That's the key, right? So, even people who are criminals, the ones that are most successful, do it quietly, and don't throw it in everyone's faces and try and put on a respectable guise or front. In one of my games, from years ago, one of our friends, who we affectionately referred to as Psycho, played a rogue, and I don't even know if it was rogue back then. It might have been a thief back then, or we switched from thief to rogue because it was right around the second edition to third edition
switch. Yeah,
and he based this character off of Nate the Nerdarch because we rolled stats back then and we kind of put them where they fell. And oddly enough, he had a high strength, high intelligence, low dex, and he made this smuggler type character that. He basically kind of made it seem like he was working for a resistance or rebellion. I think he was actually like rooting them out, and working for the other side. And he was in the party, but it kind of worked because, he did everything. Everything he did was clandestine. He didn't let the party know. He made it seem like he was helping them. Matter of fact, he would even trick the other characters in the party to helping him with his schemes. He was just clever about it, and he made them think that they were doing the right thing when he would do it. So like that is kind of like the trick, is like covering your tracks and not making it obvious. Another game, Ryan's character was going to die, and I offered him a warlock pact essentially before we had them. And, there was this corruption mechanic you could add from a Dragon magazine. And I started using that on his character and brought him back. And he was slowly shifting from a good character to an evil character due to things that happened in the game. But it's not like he's going to all of a sudden, view his companions differently. There's going to be a shift, and it's going to take time before he could really separate from the party. He's going to still have those bonds.
Yeah, you have to look at those attachments, and it's great to keep a party together, and you have to realize that when you're at the table, you're playing, whether you're playing weekly, monthly, or whatever your schedule is, you're living those moments for snippets, hours at a time, where those characters are living that life the whole time. Oh, a month passed. Well, to you said that over the course of a sentence, or you heard it said over a sentence. To these characters, they've had conversations for the last 30 days traveling together. There's more of a bond there. And unless you are, of such of an alien mindset that all you're doing is scheming on these characters and there's no attachments, it's hard to keep that motivation going over a long campaign.
So, essentially what it comes down to, you want to play an evil character? Fine. Figure out what it is you like about the other players in the game, the characters, and figure out what those attachments are and what they mean to your character. If you can't come up with anything, and the answer is nothing, this character is not going to work in this game. And then the other thing is try to work with your DM to come up with goals that coincide with the parties. Even if they're not the same, but kind of run parallel, and kind of keeps your character in the game, interacting, I feel like it's going to go a lot smoother for you that way.
So, what do you guys think? Have you played successful evil characters and have some awesome stories to tell? You can talk about that down in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
While you're heading down to the comments, don't forget to stop by the description where you can find that link and promo code to Easy Roller Dice.
So until next time, stay nerdy.